Call to order this meeting of the Plain Township Board of Trustees for February 11th. Everybody will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. Before us, we have our agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections by fellow board members or department heads at this time?
Yes, Mr. President, I'll actually have a resolution for new business number 2. I just had Eric sign it, and it's in regards to regional planning, but that'll go with number 2. Also, depending on who the audience is here for, we may move up law director to unfinished business.
I've got a couple things I'll put under concerns of trustees, OTA update, opioid symposium, and health department meeting. Are there any other changes? Okay, the agenda will stand as amended. First up, the sheriff's report, the monthly report.
I guess I got here just in time.
All right, good timing.
Good evening, everyone. Before you should have the January 2020 monthly report. We had 1,733 calls for service. It was a slight increase, 5.8% compared to January 2019. Our crashes and crashes with injury were both down, which, if you ask the guys, that's probably a good thing. But they were slightly down. Alarms were down significantly, 74. I don't think I've ever seen that in quite some time. Yeah. Usually they hover between 90 and 100. Our traffic stops were up, 216 for the month, a 13% increase over last year's. Citations were down though, and a lot of that with the crashes being down. Said our stops were up, which was good. But having a decrease like that in the crashes, that's gonna impact it right off the top. Arrests were down. We had 57, which is still a pretty solid number, but those were down 20.8%. Our officers conducted 411 vacation checks, and Detective Ross had 15 cases assigned, and he was able to close a theft with an arrest, some breaking and entering, 3 breaking and enterings with arrest, and receiving stolen property. All the cases were closed with arrest. And then you should have your the yearly, since we started this, kind of how the trend has been going, and then our comparable to 2019.
I think it's still important. I know we've had some discussion with Lieutenant Carver, just as it ties into our mini master plan. It's important that even though we see some of these numbers where they trend up, it's because we have additional feet on the street. We're able to be more proactive here. So it's not the crime and issues are running rampant in Plain Township. It's the fact that we're taking a more aggressive approach.
Yes.
Through the fact of being fully staffed and so forth.
And we have a lot of young, guys that are proactive, getting out there, getting into stuff. Our traffic stops that's one of the most proactive things that you can do. And that number is always, for a while, until we kind of start to see it kind of taper off. So we have to compare full staffing to full staffing.
Yeah.
You're going to see that.
Through the outreach that's been done over, especially the last number of years, with frequent business touch points, just going in, seeing how things are going. I know I hear whether it's the folks over at the hardware, to Speedway, to a number of different businesses.
And we still have those business cards, I believe.
They're appreciative.
The stickers,
They're so grateful of the.
We still go out, and we'll still go out and get those. If we see businesses that don't have them, we will approach them and try to get as many of those stickers on and touch base with those businesses as we can.
I just think it's again, we know because we're dealing with it, we're seeing it all the time. But for the average citizen who doesn't necessarily pay as much attention, I think it's critical to delineate that, not all of a sudden go, whoa, what's going on here?
Right.
Because
Yep.
if you don't know what you're looking at, bad thing, the good thing and the bad thing about numbers is you can interpret them, but
Yeah.
clearly they can be interpreted to self-serving
Sure.
cause. It's not factually sound, so.
Anything else? Good.
Do we have anybody in the audience that has anything for the sheriff's office? We need you to state your name and address for the record.
Okay, I'm Richard Kurz, 7535 Bentler, and it's to the sheriff as much as it is to the trustees. I have asked a number of the deputies over the last 2 or 3 years to do something about the speeding on Bentler. I live just north of Bottler. I don't know how many times I've come out of my driveway, because we got hills just to the north of us, dips, and I've had people almost rear-end me. It's a very common occurrence for people, if I sit down on my front porch in the summertime, which we like to do, see what's going on. And I'll see people going by, I can't clock them.
Sure.
60 miles an hour, maybe faster. The vast majority are not doing too bad. But there is enough people that go fast, and I'm talking real fast, because they've got this nice, long, straight, good pavement stretch, even though it's got hills. And they get going very, very fast. I don't know what you can do about it. You put the mobile sign with you're going this kind of fast, and it's out there for 2 or 3 days, and then it goes away.
We can put extra patrol, but would you be opposed to having a deputy sit in your driveway and run
As a
radar?
matter of fact, I volunteered for my driveway last summer.
Okay, yeah, we can let the guys know.
But something's got to slow them down. I know you probably are obligated by state law or something. One thing that would do it is put a stop sign at Bottler, both north and south, so they can't get going and go so damn fast up and down the street. I'm surprised someone hasn't gotten hit coming out of the driveways, especially my neighbors just to the north of us, because you can't see through those dips.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Chris, I can speak to this on a couple different fronts. I mean, the sad part is unfortunately throughout, this is not just an occurrence on Bentler, it's a common occurrence throughout the township, and even though we're talking about how we're at full staff through the additional bodies that have been added on, these guys do a great job at trying to rotate around. It clearly can't be ever, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but just, they may come over to Bentler, and then next thing you know, it's going on over at Firestone or Marquardt or Lakeside. So these guys really do a good job, and that's why through the monthly reporting, the numbers have come up. But to your point of what can be done to control speed, actually, while we were down in Columbus last weekend, during the Ohio Township Association's Winter Conference, they do a legislative reception, and one of the points of conversation is House Bill 384. It's a consideration that's in committee down there right now, where it would essentially give townships some statutory authority similar to what cities and villages do to be able to put stop signs in. Our challenge to this point has been with the Ohio Revised Code, and that you can't use a stop sign to control speed. However, you can, we're looking at it from a safety issue, and I know exactly where you're at, because is that Han that dumps up?
Just north of there is.
Yeah, so you've got that short set. I've got a friend that lives over off of Han, and whether mountain biking, in the truck, I know exactly what you're talking.
I mean, it used to be Struvel's water trucks came down that way and really barreled down the street. The last year or two, it's been much more calmed down, maybe because now that Warner Church is through, it works better, but something's got to be done before someone gets killed.
I mean, outside of,
Yeah, like I said, we could do extra patrol, and if you'd be not opposed to it, we could have a deputy
No,
sit.
I have no problems at all, but, I've seen them when I brought it up before.
Mhm.
I'll see one of the fellows out there, you know, for a week or so, and then I hardly ever see anybody going by. And, you know, it needs to be consistent.
With 350 lane miles of roadway, you can imagine there's,
No, and I'm not quibbling that, but,
Oh,
you
no.
know, all I'm getting at is, there's certain times of the day, especially when guys are going to work in the morning and they're late. There's one pickup truck that just dearly loves to be going, I'd swear he's going 60 to 70 miles an hour. And, I mean, he's going that out of hell, southbound.
What time of day is that, sir?
I'm sorry,
What time of day is that?
about 7:45 in the morning. That's when it used, in the summertime, that's when I was seeing it.
Okay.
But during the rest of the day, you just never know what it's gonna be.
What's your address again, sir?
7535.
Thanks, guys.
thanks, Sergeant, if you.
Actually was out there for about 45 minutes earlier today.
Were you? Okay.
In the afternoons, I didn't have a whole lot of luck, I was getting about 5 to 7 over the speed limit.
And, you know, 5 to 7, that's nothing. You know, it's the ones that are going a lot faster.
Yeah, I was just a little bit south of you, I was right over by Harvard.
Yeah, and if you can get just a little bit north of there, but
And Lieutenant Carver, will you communicate with us, because we don't want to put the flashing speed while you're out there, because one or the other will be ineffective. So after you sit there a while, maybe we can put it out there then.
Yep.
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to come out this evening.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
That's all I've got.
Anybody else have anything for the sheriff? Okay, that'll conclude the sheriff's report, nothing our unfinished business. That'll
Scott,
take,
do you want to move on finished business since that was the,
The resident for the,
yeah.
there's no publish. Does anybody have anything for public speaks this evening? Okay.
Since Mr. Gills came in, we could move him up.
That way he doesn't have to
oh,
sit for the whole
I
meeting.
just figured, okay,
Thank you.
no, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Grant, so.
Yeah, sure, I'll start. First of all, thanks for coming.
Sure, thanks for having me.
I put together a worksheet for you, for the trustees, that you should have, either on your email or a copy of. Basically outlining the outdoor refreshment area that we've been talking about. So I think probably it makes sense to have a little back and forth
Sure.
with Mr. Giltz, talk about what he envisions here, and then I'd like to talk to the three of you a little bit about requirements and what we would have to do to implement this, and maybe some safeguards we'd have to put in place. So if maybe you want to start with kind of what you're envisioning?
Sure, so thank you, Eric. Again, Grant Giltz, 4835 Munson Street, Canton, Ohio, 44718. Again, this is a continuation of a conversation that we've been having, what we're creating as a Oakwood Entertainment Park, Oakwood Park. We haven't quite figured out what we're gonna name this yet. But aside from that, is you know, if you look over here, this is the grassy area that we want to hold our events at. We want to add landscape islands throughout the parking lot. The landscape islands are going to do a couple different things. They're going to want not only just enhance the beautification of the shopping center, kind of warm it up, and also break up that massive sea of asphalt that's out there. The other part, what this will do for us, it'll help us protect whatever event is going on in this area here. So coming off of Middle Branch, there's a little boulevard where the trees are right by the Mercy Building. So you can either go straight now and cut the corner and catch the other lane. A lot of people do that. What we can do when we have an event, we can block this off now with these islands very easily, channel traffic in front of the shopping center, and have it meander around the other side by Drug Mart. And then depending on the size of the event of the event that we have, we can pick and choose which islands that we want to maintain open for the parking, for the tents that we have over here, such as the bistro and the upcoming Royal Docks. So to your point, there's a lot of ways that we thought about how we can protect people, easily kind of cordon off an area. You know, I just don't want to use the yellow caution tape and things like that. I want it to be sort of where it all flows. It looks like it was meant to be an entertainment venue. With that, you know, I'm up to talking with, you know, fire, police, and whoever else might need to be involved in this discussion.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the important things as you look through that is, if you look at, I don't know, if you guys have hard copies of this or is it?
I do.
If if you look at there's a public health and safety portion of this that I think would take takes a little bit of work, where we've got to, in the application that Tom's office would submit, and obviously I would help prepare that with Tom, there would be some requirements to talk about the number of personnel that were needed, what the cleanup plans would be, those kinds of things. And so I think those are discussions that will have to be had with Mr. Giltz, but also with the liquor permit holders, where, now's the time to kind of set the expectations, so to speak, from our end, as far as what we would expect and what we would be willing to do, if anything. If that makes sense.
Well, I was gonna say from prior conversation, it dates back, every bit of probably close to 6 months on some of the initial brainstorming this to saying, hey, we can explore it, then doing the legwork. To me, this is something, these are, the steps in here are formalities to something that could drive significant value and momentum. That's how I see it. There's nothing that throws a red flag here to me. I mean, heck, if they can do it in downtown city, can't in the Arts District.
Right.
On First Friday, where you have all those all those points that you're trying to control and monitor. This really simplifies it, I would think, from a law enforcement aspect, but I have to defer to the sheriff on that. But, even with what we've seen the last couple of years since the Giltz has taken over the plaza with the parking lot party, people look forward to that, and it's done nothing but grow. So, I mean, to say, okay, one of our things, when I ran back in '09, trustee mini master plan, center of focal point, we're in the midst of doing our next 10-year master plan. It's still gonna have in there the focal point. And I know Schneider is part of that, but given the close proximity, I mean, we really have an opportunity here to step it up, and, give the community something that's an asset while being mutually beneficial to the businesses. So that's just.
Well, I would agree. Historically, the whole area back here, as everybody here knows, has not had a very good historical background. And even when you guys came forward and we looked at how can we rezone it to make it fit, I'm almost embarrassed to say there was a slight amount of reluctance, simply because of everything that we had previous to that. And when you guys stepped in here, you have gone above and beyond what we have expected.
Well, thank you.
And now I'm serious when I say that, because you being here, you bringing the drawings, I think everything about this process is credible. And I think the fact that it's a cooperative, I just think there are so many win-win-wins here. In addition to that, we have made just a little bit of talk about our current mini master plan that's in place. And they even recommend some of these types of things with, private-public partnerships and, creating these types of events. So I just think there's so many things that we can do with this. And there might be a little bit of skepticism on, some of the residents, but I think those are all things that we can work through. And I'm excited, absolutely. I'm excited about it.
And based upon the parameters, essentially, we've got the ability to do one of these.
One, that's correct.
Yes.
Based upon the requirements.
And honestly, I look anywhere else across the township, the only other place that this was ever remotely considered, and the property owner really wasn't all that intrigued. Former trustee was trying to push it. It's up in the venue in the Belden Village area. This is a chance to strengthen this area further into commerce and give these tenants, whether it's the major anchor or some of these other ones that have even been here a while, all the more reason to go, damn, I made the right move. I've invested here. And, just to piggyback off John's comment, from a validity, I can tell you in the 10 years I've been here and the other plaza owners that had it, I think one of them I've seen it here. One of them, and it's the same one that probably talked to. We haven't seen nor heard hide or tail. So I do commend it because it takes time, it takes resource,
Sure.
effort, vision, and it doesn't all come together. So,
One of the things, the challenges that I have, you know, I can build a beautiful building, but I have to, what I wrestle with when I talk to everybody, you know, I gotta do that extra step to get them out there, you know, I did bring Drug Mart out there. Drug Mart, we do a lot of work with Drug Mart, and so Drug Mart's a great anchor, Mercy's been a great anchor. It took a lot of convincing to get the Royal Docs to come out there, and you know, once I got him out here and he saw the same tenants that were in this area that were the same tenants in Jackson, that's what, you know, got him hooked. However, there is still some of that skepticism that's out there. And so we gotta cross that bridge and say, Plain Township is behind us, because look, this is what they're helping us put together, and to your point, it's a collaborative effort on both our part and your part, so.
And what I handed you is kind of the worksheet for the outdoor entertainment district, so you can see what happens next. It has to be published in the paper. If the board passes the resolution for 2 weeks, then
Okay.
within, I think, between 30 and 60 days, there has to be a public hearing, so it kind of gives you the outline.
Sure.
So in the meantime, if the board passes this resolution tonight, we probably should schedule the work session so we can have that open dialogue.
Perfect.
And you say, this is what we're thinking this many times, and so,
And let me be clear about what the resolution before you tonight is. It's not the resolution to create this, because that's an application that Tom and I will.
Starts the process.
This starts the
Starts the
process.
process.
You're basically authorizing the process to begin. I didn't want you to be confused about that.
again, for clarification purposes, what's the typical time?
Well, you've got-
From completing the application, getting it.
I think you could probably, what are we, in February? I think a realistic timeline would be summer.
So
Yeah.
is that 90, is that 120
I would say it's closer to
days?
120 probably, because we've got some publishing requirements, and then we've got, you know, no earlier than 30, but less than 60. I know you guys well enough to know you're probably gonna wanna do a public hearing, those kinds of things. So I think it's probably closer to 120, but it's between 90 and 120.
So let me ask this from a business aspect. When we do project management at work, one of the things we do is we call it a pre-mortem. Essentially, you anticipate what is everything that could go wrong, so then we adapt our plan. So we know that if the shoe drops here, okay, we need to go here. Are there any major things, if we were from like a pre-mortem assessment, that we would want to anticipate? Because if I'm here in 120 days and, you know, there's no major hiccups, and this thing's pretty smooth, clearly, we don't want to cart before the horse, but let's say there's a strong probability of this thing being in place. You're also going to want to be moving in parallel
Sure.
with any other, you know, whether it's other entities, whether it's with
Well,
us or whatever.
let me clarify, there is a piece that we don't control, and that piece is the liquor commission sending this designation to the liquor permit holders. That's outside of our control, so if it gets hung up in that process, we don't have anything to do with that.
Okay.
Not having done one of these, I can't say if they rubber stamp it and send it, or if
And
they,
that's fair.
you know, so that piece could hurt our
and
timeline.
Scott, you bring up a good point, and I think that's why a work session is so important, because at that time, we might see what some of those issues are
Sure.
once discussion starts.
And we should be ferreting that out prior.
Sure.
to the session.
Sure.
So,
Do you think the next meeting at 5:20
I'm okay with
Should
is
be.
the meeting?
Yeah.
What's the date? I'm not giving you the date. Better that I did.
I would have everybody.
You would have been here yesterday,
25th.
25th,
25th.
at 5:20
25th of,
this month.
perfect.
Yeah, when
Sure, absolutely.
And if you look through the worksheet I gave you, that's gonna help you kind of
Okay.
prepare your
Yeah.
answers and our questions. And so we'll say the 25th at 5:20.
Okay.
That way we can keep moving along.
So, I know like one of the things outside of the islands here in the grass space, so the proposed pavilion, again, I don't want to cart before the horse, but I know you've provided up to the board before some ideas what that
May look
there
like, right?
could look like. Any additional thoughts or insights?
I'll be able to
There.
have something by the 25th meeting, but we want it to look nice. We just don't wanna build a concrete slab and say that's not what we're about. We want it to look nice so everyone can use it and say, hey, we're at the Plain Township Pavilion, or whatever we're gonna call this, and it's gonna look good, I promise you. And I'll have.
Well, everything that you had showed before, what from a basic to more advanced was all,
Yeah.
you know, what I would consider it.
I think the Lisa Campbell Pavilion will be outstanding.
What's the naming rights selling for?
Never mind. It's in college.
Yeah. But sure, those kind of discussions, Scott, you know, I want to work together with you. We're going to take a few stabs at what our vision is. This is more of a placeholder, is where we're feeling where the stage is. You know, I have to get power there, I have to get, you know, a concrete drive there for the equipment and things like that. There will be some additional walkways that we design in there, and so this part right here is the easy part. It's the safety part that we're concerned about as a owner of the property, as you, from the township side. You know, I want input on that. We can design anything.
And Lieutenant Carver, are you guys able to come to the work, whoever you want to bring from your team? I don't want to overstep
Sure.
at 5:20, and that way we can have those safety discussions. And
Sure.
I know Rob and I talked to you about, we had some really good ideas of how we could collaborate on some events,
Yep.
so that would be great.
We're excited for all that, and so, you know, we are probably saying, you know, I didn't know how far to take a drawing, and because once I put on the drawing, you all might want to have some ideas, and I just want to get those out on a work session type of setting, so.
I can tell you, there's definitely a buzz of, you know, activity still. I mean, the buzz is every bit as much as when Drug Mart was coming in and what's going on? I mean, now it's constant phone ringing or text messages of, what is that that's going in next door on you?
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, okay.
And it's gonna look good, and so what we told Ace Hardware, we said, listen, you know, you're part of our development, we want some elements of our shopping center to show that it's cohesive, so it's gonna have a nice stone band that matches our shopping center, and, you know, we gave them some liberties to have some of their identity on the type of siding that they chose, and, you know, it's gonna look good, it's gonna look dynamite when it's all finished, and it's gonna, you know, and really enhance Ace Hardware, a lot bigger building than where they're at, and,
Say, it's about 30%, or how much?
you know, I think they had 8,000 square feet over there, and this is 12,000 square feet.
So about 50%,
Yeah.
50% increase.
And they put it up over the weekend.
And they did
We
it.
went to the Ohio Township Association conference,
Yeah, actually, I was
came
thinking,
back and we're like, there it is.
well, I took pictures of the poles that had been set in the morning. I didn't share them because I'm like, well, it's a little too dark. Most folks are gonna be like, wow, where's this at?
Yeah.
So,
Looks good.
Seeing is believing.
It is,
Yep.
it is, and so, we gave them a tight deadline, and they're gonna make it, I think.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
awesome.
Any questions for us on this?
You know, I do want you to take those drawings, put your thoughts on them, so when we show up on the 25th, and if there's any ideas ahead of time that, you know, Grant, this is, you know, if there's some musts that have to be on there, give me a heads up a little earlier, that way I can, you know, get it to my guys and have them, you know, pencil it out and draw it up, and
You might want Joe's input on the islands.
Yeah, I'll look at them, you know, islands create beauty, but they do create problems with snow removal and other things too, so.
good thing is, that's my problem.
Yeah,
That's what I was hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe's good.
Yeah. So, okay, well, thank you. If there's anything else you guys want to get a hold of me,
Thank you.
and if you want me to leave this here, I can leave this here for.
We've got
copies, yeah.
copies, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for
Thank you.
bringing it.
Thanks for being here,
Have a good evening, Grant.
Thanks.
And that's the end of unfinished business.
Okay, that'll take us to new business.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution to increase the fees for all other parking violations to $25, and if not paid within 3 days, the fee is hereby increased to $35. Handicap parking violations shall be increased to $200, and if not paid within 3 days, $250. And have it further resolved that this will be posted in 5 public places, published for 3 consecutive weeks.
I will so move on new business number 1.
Second.
discussion. This is long overdue. Our ticket fees have been essentially a joke from the aspect that, I mean, people thumb their nose at it, and yet it's been difficult for us to really pursue collections on it, because by the time you'd have to bundle them up, somebody's gonna take a third, up to probably 45% on this, especially the trigger of within 3 days.
They haven't been increased in what, over 24 years?
Yeah.
5 years?
Yeah.
It's a long time.
I mean, they were $5. People just thumb their nose at that.
Joe, any feedback from our guys the other day when they were out? Because the lieutenant told me they wrote quite a few tickets.
They're noticing it,
12 on my street alone.
is that right?
I didn't even ask them to go there.
And we're anxious, I mean, tomorrow we don't, this weather report's all over the place tomorrow, so.
3 to 5,
Start
3 to
raining up to 5 inches, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. No further discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 2 tonight was just going to be discussion about the mini master plan, but then when I spoke with Rachel Forcione, the deadline, which is very important to them, will expire by kicking it out a couple weeks like I've proposed. So I have a resolution first to approve an extension for the master plan update with regional planning until April 24th.
I will so move.
I'll second.
Discussion, I think it's important, one, because given we just got a copy of it while we were at the OTA. Yeah, I mean, I look at it high level, I know we've exchanged some notes, but I will say, as much as there's some good information in there, there's absolutely some things I am not a fan of whatsoever. We talk about collaboration, and partnerships, and joint purchasing, and all of that stuff. At the end of the day, when you start going through all that, we really risk losing our uniqueness in a number of facets. And I am not going to compromise. I will not acquiesce or settle on any of that. We fight too hard through this plan to create the identity, and then to be tied to other stakeholders. No, the other stakeholders can be tied. They can come to us, but we are not them. And as long as I serve as trustee, there's no.
We definitely need a work session on it to go over and.
Well, that brings to the second point. I was hopeful that we could kind of set a date, or if we need more time, but I was thinking maybe next Tuesday, since we're used to meeting on Tuesdays, doing a 6 o'clock meeting, because it may take, 1 to 2 hours, I'm not sure. Or you guys can propose any day. I don't have a resolution for it, that's something I do by press release, but I just need some dates from you guys. Anytime next week or the beginning of the next week to let me know when our whole team can sit down to discuss it. So when you get a chance to send that to me.
Yeah, I agree. We need to,
Look into the week of the 24th, because next week doesn't work good at all.
And there, obviously, as we glance through it, there's some highly technical information there, but there's other information that doesn't quite depict what we are currently doing compared to what the language indicates. And, we are doing things right now, and we're going to continue to do those things, and we just want to make sure that that plan accurately depicts what we're doing now and what we want to do in the future.
And they were hopeful to come to the meeting on the 25th of March, but if we're not meeting till that week, I'll push them out to the first week of April, because we will still be within the contract.
I would
But
say, are we okay to do
yeah,
that?
just let me know what works as far as getting together, and we'll do a special meeting.
Okay.
And you have to vote, I'm sorry.
No further motion a second, that was our discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Okay, and item number 3 is a resolution to change the regular board meeting from March 10th, 2020 to March 9th, 2020. Due to the 2020 BWC Safety Congress in Columbus, we have to be down there Tuesday before the evening to register, so just a change up of the date.
Also moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that's the end of new business.
That'll take us to fiscal officer's report. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number 1, it's a request for a resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants in the amount of $124,743.98.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
I will move on fiscal officer number 2.
I'll second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a request for resolution to authorize payment for the following medical claims.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the financial report for January.
Anybody's got questions, see Tom afterwards.
Fiscal Officer number 5, be it hereby resolved by the Board of Trustees of Plain Township, Stark County, Ohio, that to provide for the current expenses and other expenditures of said Board of Trustees during the fiscal year ending December 31, 2020, the following sums be, and the same are hereby set aside and appropriated for the several purposes for which expenditures are to be made for and during said fiscal year as follows.
Also moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6 is a request for resolution to authorize the payment in an amount not to exceed $20,158.50 to be taken from 01A 26Q to reimburse the Canton Municipal Court for Plain Township's proportional share of operating costs.
Also moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7 is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
That concludes the Fiscal Officer report.
Okay, that will take us to the administrator, Ms. Campbell.
Yes, item number 1 is a resolution to authorize payment to Earthenwood for hauling of yard waste not to exceed $3,720 from Fund 01A 26Y.
Also move.
Second.
Discussion, is this still cleanup from what?
And this should be the last
year?
one. This is it from last year.
Okay, no further discussion, roll call.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution to approve payment to Canton Data Print for the printing and postage of the 2020 Plain Township Spring Newsletter.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And item number 3 is a resolution to authorize payment to Verndale Water Center for the purchase and installation of a water softener in the amount not to exceed $2,600.
I'm so moved.
Second.
Discussion, it's actually a real good price.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one we had was a Verndale and it lasted forever and their service is great, it just happened to break. It was old.
That's for this bill?
Mhm. It was old.
All right, no further discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that ends the administrator report.
Thank you. It takes us to the fire department. Chief?
Thank you. Item number 1 is our monthly report. Some pictures here from training, some new equipment and updating, and,
All respiratory stuff.
yeah. Wintertime, we do a lot of indoor CE stuff.
questions, see chief afterwards.
Thank you. Item number 2 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the purchase and payment of one Unimac 30-pound gear washer from Blinky Incorporated per attached quote, not to exceed $8,000 to be taken from Fund 10A08.
I'll move on FD number 2.
Second, discussion, the current units, how many years old? 18, 20 years old?
18 years old, motor went bad. We just didn't think it was worth the repair on that
He's
old
doing
unit.
that. And we're gonna keep that old unit just for some, to part it out. part it
Yes,
out.
we have one machine that's similar in age, I might be able to use some of the parts off of it till we, it gets to that point, replacement.
If anybody can do that, I know it's you.
So Chuck's a custom fabricator as well. No further discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize uniform allowance blanket, not to exceed $20,000 to be taken from Fund 10A09H, and this is for different vendors for uniform allowance.
Also move on to fire number 3.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yeah.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize Brosnahan's Concrete LLC for purchase and payment and installation to replacement of the existing drain interceptor at 2855 Easton Street, not to exceed $5,500 per attached quotes, and this is going to be split from funds 10A, and also 01B02.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 5 is a resolution to secure the parcel at 2209 Harmon Street, parcel number 5204970, as per code 505.86 and Plain Township Property Maintenance Code. And we've inspected the building, on 12/16 and 1/3 of 2020.
I will move on fire department number 5.
I'll second.
Discussion, this has essentially been a perpetual, ongoing issue, so finally seeing the end of the road here on this.
Yeah, between mowing and, zoning, making many abatements there, I guess you'd say. And we did have a fire in the structure, it's not been repaired, it's probably been 5 years since that fire. So,
We've been better off to have leveled it at that point.
so it's been an ongoing issue.
No further discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Pictures there. And last resolution is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the purchase and payment for Safety City bike helmets from Pro Rider Inc. in the amount not to exceed $2,200 to be taken from Fund 10A15.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, that concludes fire department.
Okay, that'll take us to the road department. Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is the January monthly report. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer.
One question, salt usage, are we still at a point where we're still potentially having to pay for storage?
We're about 60% of what we normally use.
Okay.
I got room to order more, but I'm trying not to because I'm going to be working on that building, so
Yeah.
we're seeing where we're at. I have until July 1st to actually purchase that salt, so I
Okay.
can see where we're at that time, so.
Instead of the anti-snow dance, should I do the snow dance?
Yeah.
Salt usage to where we
We
need.
might use some this week.
Just don't, if you do, don't do it too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't overdo it.
All right.
I Item number 2 is some informational from the Stark County engineer. They're having their annual township meetings with the road superintendents and trustees and fiscal officers on Thursday, April 2nd. Meeting with the trustees is at 5:30 p.m. Meeting with the road superintendents is at 9 a.m.
I didn't see anywhere we need RSVP. I don't know.
No, we,
No, you don't have to do that, no. Good. Item number 3 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to hire Civ Pro Engineering to provide professional services for the NPDES MS4 permit compliance. To perform all necessary field work, data collection for the dry weather screening, and prepare required inspections to reflect outfall discharge and stream mapping on approximately 110 outfalls, not to exceed $9,500.
so moved.
Second.
Discussion, just for clarification, this is one of these wonderful unfunded EPA mandates that essentially we gotta spend taxpayer dollars on another taxpayer-funded organization.
And this company has done for us in the past, and they electronically created something for us so we can follow it on there.
And we'll have to do it once every 5 years. It's once every permit period. It would take, Joe would have a guy working full-time doing it. It's just, you gotta go out when it's dry, you gotta go out after a rain, you gotta go out, take pictures, you gotta make, it's just, it's crazy.
Okay. No further discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the purchase of an 8B98 Bobcat breaker through state term pricing from the Clark Equipment Company, not to exceed $7,450.28.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And item number 5 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the purchase of the yearly user license for the Build-A-Form engineer reports system software from the Morph Corporation, not to exceed $2,880.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion, Joe, this will be our second year
Yes,
going in.
very good last
These are the
year.
folks that we met with.
They're so good at getting back with us and, walking us through any things we had when we work with through Eric, and the guys are using it, and it's really worked out well last year.
No further discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that concludes the road department.
Joe and Lisa, this probably isn't any one of yours, but do we have any word on if and when the joint solid waste district is gonna set the recycling containers down there? That's becoming more of a frequent question that I'm hearing, that, hey, there's a concrete pad down there, a nice fence, but what's going, I mean,
The last I heard, and Rob might be able to give some input too, they gotta put the lights up yet, and they're waiting on some kind of screening for the fence.
The windscreen.
The windscreen,
The windscreen.
It's been ordered, it has
It's been ordered.
yeah.
That's the last I heard.
Yeah, they won't put it up without the lights in the
The
windscreen.
cameras have already been installed, and all the power's running and everything.
The windscreen catches a lot of that extra trash, which is what they want to help avoid, is some of that
oh
blow.
yeah, we don't want that blowing.
But
across the lot
we've been
into the-
getting lots of those calls.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks. Takes the zoning department, Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1 is the monthly report.
Okay.
Item number 2 is a resolution to authorize township personnel to attend the Stark County Regional Planning Annual Dinner on Wednesday, March 18th, 2020 at Skyland Pines Rustic Lodge, and to further authorize payment not to exceed $540 from Fund 01A03.
I will so move.
I will second, because it's close to my birthday, so, we'll celebrate with you guys.
You're getting shortchanged.
It's my 29th birthday again for a long time.
Discussion,
Board, however you decide, anybody who may be going, just RSVP to Megan, and you have on your desk what they're serving with your dinner, please.
no further discussion, roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
And that's all for zoning tonight, sir.
Thank you, Tom. It's gonna take us to Parks Department, Mr. Steinberg.
Thank you. Item number 1 is the monthly report. I do want to point out just 1 or 2 pieces. Session 2 began with 66 teams, which is the second straight session we've eclipsed the most teams we've ever had. I want to point out in discussions with some friends across the county that apparently the indoor complex that was slated for the Tamashanner area at no time will be going up in the near future. Plans for that, and I quote, fell through. Joe and I had a conversation with Mike Vaccaro of Jackson Township. That leaves that dome collapse, which means I think, given our numbers right now and our capacity, I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think our outdoor numbers are actually gonna balloon because of it as well.
Yeah, the dome's back up, but there's some leaking.
Yeah, they're not open 100% just yet, and it sounds like, through the rumor mill, there could be a private entity looking to purchase that for their own club practices and organization, which would pretty much close out the rest of the
Wow.
programming piece. So, quite the interesting developments. I've always been proud of what we do and the way we do it. I'm positively anxious about what we're going to see coming in this spring.
Next item.
Number 2 is just a reminder, we'll have the Easter Extravaganza, April 4th at Diamond, 12 p.m. The event will begin, egg hunt and color run will follow promptly at 1 o'clock. Grades, pre-K through 6. There'll be more coming out as we get closer to the event. Just a reminder to folks. And that's all I have, thank you.
That will take us to the law director, Mr. Williams. Sorry, I had a brain fart over here.
All right. Yep, just one item on the agenda. It's the resolution to authorize the fiscal office to prepare the appropriate application for the DORA, or designated outdoor refreshment area.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion, roll call,
Mr. Hawes?
yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Short, sweet, man, a few words here this evening. Communications, let's see here, I can take this. First one's from the Stark County Health Department to the advisory council members, from Kirk Norris. There's a district advisory council meeting set for Thursday, March 5th, 2020. That meeting will be at the health department, starting at 7 p.m., their first floor, at their new location, 7235 Whipple Avenue, North Canton. I'm the designated representative. I will be in attendance at that meeting. So I don't think there's a,
I'm at the college yet.
I'll be attending just a morning group, yeah, anything I can run.
practice this pose.
Oh, that pose?
They get,
Okay.
there's good people over there, but it gets dry. It gets dry.
It's a required meeting. They have to move on this every year. They have to hold at least one of these.
So they use it as a dog and pony show for every department.
Yep.
They'll read every word of every slide, so it's necessary. But communications number 2, Vietnam War Veterans Day Ceremony, March 29th, 2020. This was extended to us by the Stark County Veterans Service Commission. It's going to occur from 1 to 3 p.m. at Washington High School, 1 Paul Brown Drive. The public is encouraged and welcomed. Register as a Vietnam War era veteran to receive an invitation with the event details. Contact Teresa White, Outreach Coordinator. Nothing else under communications. That brings us to the portion of the meeting, public speaks. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board?
Nothing,
what-
no?
Are you here for like a school project or something?
I'm here for citizenship in the community.
Okay.
Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts.
What rank are you currently?
Life Scout.
Okay. So next would be Star, the
Next would be Eagle.
Yeah.
okay, that's right, it's Star Life.
That's right.
Okay.
And feel
Life's
free
the
to
one.
reach out to us for your Eagle Scout project.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of the work that's been done in our parks has been directly attributed to different scout projects and so forth, so, and then sometimes folks have a lot of great ideas themselves and bring them to us, other times, hey, do you have any ideas? Either way, we're receptive, so what troop are you a part of?
1042.
Okay,
Do you have any, Duncan, do you have anything for us to sign? Do you need us to sign anything for being in attendance tonight?
Just saying that I was here.
we'll get it right at the end, we'll get it right at the end of the
Yeah,
meeting.
because we're not gonna be too much longer.
Thanks for
Yes.
hanging with us here this evening. Is there anybody else wishes to address the board, public speaks? Okay, that'll conclude public speaks. Concerns of trustees, I just had a couple things. I'm not sure if everybody got it. I'm assuming at least Brooke and John, you guys did. But for the sake of the record, Judge Forshone had sent us the letter about it's the 6th annual, started out as a heroin symposium, now it's the opioid, becoming more encompassing. But Thursday, February 27th, 6 to 8:30 p.m., Malone University Johnson Center. It's a free event to the public. It's sad, but I think they said Ohio's still the second highest state, so we've got issues. So if you know somebody who either needs the help or you know folks that can help provide the outreach, this is definitely a place to be. Let's see, I had district health department meeting, but we've already addressed that. I wanted to put on the record, I was copied on a couple of communications today from a resident. The first one has to do with brine being put down on the roads. I just want to publicly state, we do not use aqua salina or any, we have from the very beginning, through Joe and the team's extensive research, found, an eco-friendly solution called Beat by K-Tac.
And when we're just brining, that's straight brine from ODOT, just liquid salt basically.
Nothing that has been recovered from fracking operations.
Nothing, no. I think we talked about this a year or so ago.
Yes, we did, at
We
length.
never have and we never will use it.
So, the fact is there's a loop of some environmentally sensitive individuals that we've had historical dealings with here, and I just want to make sure from a transparency and an accountability aspect that we're clear that we're not using that, because as soon as they see the stripes on the road, there's a direct correlation in the assumption. So, separate of that, I sent to the two of you a separate article on fracking, and
Yes, I appreciate that, thank you.
I'll keep my comments to myself, because I know I'm on the record extensively from a couple of years back on that. Last thing, just the OTA update. I know we went down as a team. I think we had a individual and collectively good experience. The one thing I'd like to see still, as we do every year, there's a lot of divide and conquer coursework that's done down there. If there's key takeaways, I don't know, Lisa, if we can give them to Lisa or Marilyn, have a consolidation of those. I know we've got the thumb drives and have the presentations, but that still doesn't take, or add the points of how we've interpreted it, how we may know it could apply. I know on the annexation front, there's very much some things that I'm just gonna say we need to make a priority. And we'll work that behind. That's just me speaking as one, but I think there's some things that are legitimately time sensitive, but we need to make sure we're all encompassed on it as well. So let's just make sure we get our thoughts and stuff, share it back.
And to touch on that, you're all gonna get an email from me tomorrow, because I learned about the Tarma e-library, and we actually can assign training, do training. It's a powerful tool, so you will be getting an email from me, username and password, and then you'll see the training in there, and then I can assign training. We could talk about it, do it at staff meetings, but it's really, really good.
Let's see here, and then specifically, I mean, outside the legislative reception, the things we were hitting on down there, as alluded to earlier, was House Bill 384, the whole stop signs. That's a far cry from being done, so I know our representatives have said they would keep us informed on that. The other one was House Bill 163, which had to do with annexation over water, and unfortunately, I bring this up because of thinking of the Laurel Ridge allotment, you know, inquiries about water and sewer and so forth. Essentially, the teeth have been taken. Anything that's meaningful to the townships, the teeth have been taken out of it, meaning that, you know, the city can still use it as an annexation tool, but they, you know, the thoughts that you can't charge outside water rates, it's all an inside rate. Personally, I still think it's a crock that they don't put some teeth in it. You know, I know there's some tap dancing, you know, massaging of this by our legislators, but at the end of the day, when these municipalities are getting federal and state funding, which comes from all of our taxpayer dollars, and then those dollars essentially get used against us, it's just extremely flawed. So those were the few things I had. I don't know, John or Brooke, if there's just any add-ons right on OTA real quick, or
I loved it. It was, for me, it was my first time, and I think I got to know more of the board a little bit more, and I got to learn, I love always learning classes and learning, and I got to touch up on a variety of newcomer and new elected official classes. I think I took 7 or 8 classes, so it was very helpful for me.
What's interesting is things are changing so rapidly that, you know, you go down there with one thought, and then all of a sudden you find out, no, this just changed 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then we're scrambling to make sure that we keep up because there was nothing posted on it or anything like that. The flip side to that is sometimes it's refreshing to go into the class and realize not only are we doing it right, we're doing it better. And I mean, there were a number of occasions I saw that just how we keep our minutes. I was shocked. I was shocked when some townships do not include their resolutions directly in their minutes. No, they put them on a separate piece of paper, or they have them stashed somewhere. Oh, it was unbelievable.
well, I think the Wendell Cox report actually spoke really good during the general session.
Oh, that was good
On
too.
a per capita basis, it was a 10-year update. The township form of government is still the most cost-effective, and we're talking, it's almost a 50% savings as compared to, you know, the municipality. So we've definitely got a lot to be proud of. I know sitting in it was the Auditor of State's roundtable. I will say, as most of you know, I'm not necessarily quiet when it comes to my thoughts and opinions, and this room was packed full of, I'm gonna say 96 to 98% of fiscal officers and just a small meager percentage of trustees. We can count our blessings and what we've got for a fiscal officer and Tom. I'm not trying to blow smoke. I sat in there and had to listen to trustees get crucified about not understanding budgets or not doing this or that. And the irony is, after enough had been spewed out, and I'm talking tenured fiscal officers, talking simple things like, hey, I've got a $50,000 carryover, and now it's up to 120, and I'm afraid of the budget commission. I got no greater joy than standing up and going, 10-year budget, have you guys heard of capital accounts? No. Well, as trustee, I just want to let you know, that's what we're doing up here. So I'm only bringing that up because, to John's point, we're much more affluent and refined than we probably give ourselves credit for on some occasion. But I think that also ties back into the bigger picture of the circle. You know, we have a good team here, so we make each other look good. We have a good team here because of great residents that support what we bring to them. But we only get that support because the residents can go against that checklist and go, yep, they've done this, they've done this, they've done this. And typically, if we haven't done something, it's because factors have changed, and we've provided that explanation. So I walked away feeling a lot better.
So I would agree.
Okay, no other concerns under trustees, concerns of the fiscal officer?
No concerns.
Okay, I'll take us to the approval of the minutes for January 28th, 2019, and I will so move.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
We do have a need for executive session, so be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 7:14 PM from this regular meeting is authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose and consideration of 1F, compensation of a public employee or official, 3, a conference with the law director or other retained counsel concerning pending or imminent court action.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mrs. Harless?
Yes.
Hey, Tom, you wanna come on back?
Duncan, do you want us to sign this stuff?